Okay, good morning, everyone. Good to see everyone here. I just wanted to mention before we get started, there's going to be some upcoming changes in the perpetual sadhana system. So for anyone who is doing that right now, we're going to be doing the check-ins for the nightly dyads on the Saturday and Sunday only from here on in, just for the next few months. So there'll be live facilitators for Saturday and Sunday, and then we'll be just letting people go in the dyads for the rest of the week. So we'll be doing that check-in just to make sure everyone knows the technique and is doing it correctly. And so that'll be a shift. So there won't be facilitators every night. And we'll be sending out a little email message about that. I'd love to hear what's happening in your practice, in the sadhana, in life, in the pathless path, whatever is unfolding in the realm of existence here. So I'll start with Ed. Hang on one sec, I'm just going to sort out my spotlight here. Here we go. Let's get you to unmute. Hi, Ed.
How are you? Thank you.
Good.
So I have a question,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not sure where the question is, so I'll describe to you what's happening, and
Sure.
I'll let you pick it apart.
Okay.
So I'm discovering I have a lot of little characters that make up a complicated scenario. So as I try and evaluate what's happening within me, there's one character that will want to hold on to an event, whether it's a happy event or a traumatic event or anything. So I just call him a character that wants to hold on to something. Then there's another character that appears and says, you should be able to release that, let go, and take it for what it is. And I call that a character because then I discover there's a third character that sits back and is observing everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it seems the deeper I go, the more characters I'm finding.
Yeah.
So it's very hard to figure out where I am when I observe and notice all these little characters popping up. So it feels like there's like a bunch of little Eds running around creating turmoil.
Yeah.
But it's simple.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes any sense, there's a simple chaos to it. I'm just not sure where I'm at in doing everything. So I was wondering if you could take a moment and point some things out. Thank you.
Thank you. So, what you're seeing is, what people generally start to see when they start doing self-inquiry is, and in the films, I've referred to the little parts of the self as the little bosses, So there's these aspects of ourself, and it's almost like they're like little programs that come to life in certain situations in life. So we might have a little boss that is active around identity with our politics. It's like the political fighter, whatever it is, or maybe around religion, or maybe there's a little boss that comes to life around money, or whatever it is, and they can be sort of quiet sometimes in our life until we're in a certain situation, and then they get activated. And we start to see these patterns when we do self-inquiry. And the egoic mind, it's like the more we look, the more we see there's an infinite number of these patterns. So there's a saying in Christianity, like the devil is the Satan is legion. It's not one thing. So the ego is made up of all these seemingly separate parts of ourself. And the mind is, the egoic mind is just dividing. It's constantly dividing one part of itself from another. So in our practice, we just come to see that. We come to see the situation of how it actually is in our practice. And so when we inquire, who am I? Like, who are you? In every instance where one of those conditioned little patterns comes to activity, like as you said, there's an awareness that's here. There's an awareness that is always present. So no matter what phenomena is presenting itself, no matter what the body mind is doing, there's one who knows all of those different experiences. There's one who knows all of those little eyes. So who is that? Who is that one that is just aware, that is the knower of all of that? The one that doesn't change, the one that is not just part of that conditioning. And so the practice, is to just stay with that awareness, rather than getting hooked in to the phenomena, because each one of these little eyes has its own agenda. They all want something, and they all want something other than what is here now. They're either trying to get rid of some part of life, or they're trying to attain something. So if we stop, buying into those million little agendas, and we just rest with the awareness that's here, that is this practiceless practice that all of the great teachers point towards, Ramana and Nisargadatta, to just stay with this beingness or this I amness that's here, and it's just the pure consciousness. And over time, there's a sort of purification when we don't put attention on whatever these little eyes want. They start to lose their power, and there's this clearing that starts to happen, and just by resting as the awareness that's here. Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. Ruben. Hi, Ruben.
Good morning, Dan.
Good morning.
You've said many times awareness is liberation. And I've been sitting, it's funny my words, when I say I, there seems to be two languages, the made up authentic language. Made up language sounds like my car, my wife, my friends, my career, my life. That seems to be like made up language. Authentic language is we are awareness. And I've been sitting in that more and more and just awareness. And I know it's just a word, awareness. You could say source, you could say consciousness, you could say anything, but that's just word. But I know what you mean. And so as I sit in that more and more, there seems to be a death that's happening to me. And there's a sadness of like the ego. And I know it's affecting the people around me. And it's like a process. And I know you said it many times. I've asked you about your process, and it's like there's no shortcuts. It's just a process, and it's just I can't put words on it. So I mean, I'm trying to formulate a question, but it seems to be that something inside of me is really changing, and it's really happening, and it's really it's like no big deal, and it's everything at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um,
Is there, how would you describe that change in life? Like, how would you, like, what does, when people see that, what are they sort of seeing or reporting?
Well, I think they think I'm crazy, and I have to watch my words.
Mm.
I can't say. People use imagine made up language, and I can't say, well, Ruben did this and start talking in the third person because people they don't like that kind of
No, they don't
verbiage.
like that. Yeah.
They don't like that
Mm.
kind of verbiage, so I have to use the pretend language.
Yeah.
You know, I I got a car, I got a job, I got this, I got that, and
Mhm.
more and more, life seems to be so illusionary, so what's the word? It's like made up. It's like a dream. I feel more alive in my meditations than I do in my waking life. And by the way, my dream, I can't even sleep anymore. I sleep so weird. It's when I say I mean the Ruben character
Mm.
isn't sleeping very well.
Mhm.
So it's like it's just beginning to feel fake. The life is beginning to feel fake, and everything seems to be connected. Ed just mentioned about these little characters and these little egos and and they're like funny now. They're just funny. They're
Mhm.
like, oh, look at him. He wants a little, he wants this. And it doesn't, they're like disappearing. They're like dying off. They're dying off. And so, like, I'm trying to get to a question, but I
Mhm.
don't see a question. I guess it's just keep going and going and going and going and going and going. You know,
What's
I,
I'm feeling like
oh,
what's coming up for me is
yes.
uh yeah, just in I don't know why it's coming up now, but the the teaching of Dogen um is coming up right now, and he really in I don't know if you've read the Genjo koan. It's one of the beautiful pointers, but he really it sums up the path, the this sort of unfolding that you're describing, that and there are these different stages that he points to, and so what I'm feeling is, there's so I'll just sort of mention what it is. So he says, like at the beginning of the path, it's exactly what you describe. We believe I am this someone. So we start to investigate, who am I, and that I am someone falls away, and so it's like we forget the character, or we let go, we disidentify from the character, um, and we discover this consciousness that's here and now, and so that's the path, that's part of the path, but then
Yeah.
there's a so he says, to know the self, we forget the self, and then after, when we forget the self, we come to 10,000 things. We have direct experience of the 10,000 things, and some of the translations, they say, I'm enlightened by the 10,000 things, or I'm actualized by 10,000 things. So so we come into more and more direct experience of everything that's arising. So we wake up from the illusion, recognize the awareness, that which remains in deep sleep, so it never sleeps, so when you start to touch that, we realize, when you're using I, referring to that, it does never sleep, my true nature never sleeps. um, so that coming to the 10,000 things is the deepening of the path. It's the when we talk about the embodiment work, the shadow, purifying the vasanas, all of that. There's this ongoing just being with what is, life in all of its infinite manifestations, and there's a possibility of a direct experience, or a possibility of samadhi with everything that's arising.
Think.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
my feeling, that comes up for me, like when we say the world is illusion, it it sort of is, but like when we wake up from it, we realize, yeah, like the character is like a dream, but
Yeah.
yet
It,
what remains is in Zen the great reality, So that which remains, when I'm not filtering through that character with all of its preferences, um, there's this profound actualization in every moment. So the dream becomes, it's not real, it's not dream, but it's alive, it's direct, and it's those direct experiences that take us back into life, and we see the family, not as a problem or as a
yeah.
we see it's an expression of God. It's an expression of the I am or me, and it's perfect because if I see someone in my life or anything in my life as anything other than that expression, then I see where I'm believing a thought somehow. I'm believing there's something that needs to be different or fixed or like if I see my
Yeah.
partner and I'm like, she's totally unconscious and but if
Exactly.
I see through the character, I see the essence of the one looking back at me, then she's perfect as she is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It seems to me that the only thing that is real is that awareness, that consciousness, and everything else is the verb. Uh, you asked me one time, is Ruben real? And I thought, well, he's a verb. He's a wave. Like a wave is just the ocean, but it's the wave is an action that the ocean is doing. And it seems to me that awareness, consciousness is that's it. There's nothing else, and everything is moving. It's just a verb. Everything is a verb, and all I'm looking at is this motion of everything. Absolutely, absolutely. When you say it's like, is there's only one, and it's moving everywhere.
Yeah, and
It's
that
just so
that
awesome.
yeah,
It's
and
yeah,
yeah, that motion, like when the wave, thinks it's separate from the ocean, and I think to me that's the ego is it's the delusion. So
yeah,
the
yeah,
waves will always keep coming and going. There's no
yeah,
end to the ocean is always waving, but the delusion is when I think I'm that wave, and I
yeah,
desperately want to preserve
yeah.
my waveness, and that's that because and that's suffering, that's we think that we're this separate being, so waving is not a
This
problem.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. This
Mhm.
awareness is just everywhere, and the fact that there was a little baby that just walked into the video, I was like, nah, it's the innocence of life. It's just everywhere. So hello to the little baby that stepped into the screen. It
Awesome.
was just a reminder about how everything is just life and it's just everywhere. Absolutely no resistance whatsoever to anything. No
Mhm.
resistance. There's everything is perfect. Everything is exactly as it should be. And I'm just thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for walking us through this and being our guide. I just can't thank you enough for what you've done for all of us, for the world. This process that is working through you. It's working through you, and I just see it, and I am full of gratitude for that.
Mhm.
So onward and upward. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you, Ruben.
Thank you, Dan.
Yeah, Laura Dana. Hello.
Hi,
Hello.
good morning to all of you, and good evening from my side. Um, First of all, I just wanted to say thank you so much for last week's conversation when we speak about burning into whatever is kind of happening, into the emotions that are coming up. I think this last week has been a great time for me to see patterns of resistance coming up. I
Mhm.
was just amazed how the two speakers before me actually were mentioning exactly things that I kind of went through this past week. As always, every single time is the same story.
Mhm. Yeah, it's
Um,
the human story. Yes.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And the fact that you mentioned the politicians part, that's exactly one thing that I discovered last week when I looked at one on the TV and I felt like, no, I can't listen to him. I have to close the TV. Then I stopped that and I realized that's actually the perfect moment for me to practice what I said I want to do. And
Mm-hmm.
then I realized the ego came in again because the practice he wanted to do was accept him as he is, as wrong as he is. That's not what actually I'm supposed to do either. You know, I'm
Yeah.
supposed to accept what's going on, even the feeling of shame that I had,
Mm-hmm.
a feeling for him that he was wrong, you know, like, so even that was present in me.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. It's so yeah, it's interesting with what's happening in the world right now. It
yeah,
feels to me like there's an incredible, if we go back to the water analogy, it's like a river
yeah,
that the current is going so quickly, and it's so easy for the ego, like if we touch that current, it's like we get sucked into it very, very easily. And I think right now it's the egoic consciousness wants us to take sides in everything. It wants us to say this person is good or this is bad, and Iran war is, they need to be punished, or we need to back off or whatever. As soon as we take a position in that, then it's like there's an identification, and so that whole level of fighting, the whole level of egoic consciousness is like it's like pulling everyone to try and take a side, try and take a position right now, and
yeah,
it's a very, very wrong, strong, strong
yeah.
current. Yeah, yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. And I have to say, the moment when I realized that and I decided that I'm going to accept whatever it is, whatever I'm feeling, I'll just be with it. It kind of dissolved. I don't know even how to, it was not, and it was not replaced by happiness or joy, but it just dissolved. It was such a, I don't know, such an acceptance. I don't think it was fascinating, I have to say. Um, which was something. And then later on, I kind of, a few days later, I had another resistant pattern coming up. Then, yeah, okay, great. In a way, I'm grateful that they're coming, showing up. I think I've not paid attention to this enough in the past,
Mm.
and not
Amazing.
show gratitude for these things, for noticing them.
Hmm.
Um, and I had another question because today has been the opposite day of happiness and joy, and I've been like feeling like a child, I have to say. So the whole day I've been playing more or less. Um, but I also kind of wanted to ask you, do I treat positive emotions the same? So should they be treated the same as negative emotions? Like, because it feels like this is the place to be, but I don't think that's either.
Hmm. Oh, so you're questioning like, yeah, am I getting attached to the
Yeah,
positive?
yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I think like for me, it's you know like the ego and the I thought,
Mm,
it is craving and it's aversion. It's both.
mm,
It's always both. So that I thought and that identification can happen, with the good or the bad as it's arising. And it's only when we resist what is arising, that ego is in play. It is the resistance to what is. So whatever's arising, we have a complete experience of it.
right.
If joy is arising, you know, there's no ego in that.
Yeah,
If I'm not grasping at it, trying to hold it, I'm just having a complete experience, and I know it's temporary, and maybe I love it even more because I know it's temporary. It's like it's a beautiful feeling. It's a blessing to feel that. So we have a complete experience of it, and it passes away, and then there might be a painful experience or suffering, and I have the same complete experience of that as well, and then there's no I thought growing roots into that, like trying to you know hold it or push it away, or any of that. It's just passing through. It's life passing through.
yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much for helping me with this. Thank you.
Mhm. Yeah, thank you. Eva, hello.
Hi,
Hello.
hello, hi to the group. Sending you all lots of love. Yeah, maybe I can check in. I want to share to Ruben. I feel so much gratitude to you. I really honestly want to say that every when you speak, I feel it like, almost frequency, and I can resonate a lot and so much light. So I just want to say thank you for being here, for being here. Honestly, I wanted last time even. Yeah, it's like I feel like a gratitude in such a beautiful way. Um, yeah, the character just ran a half marathon without training, so that's a new crazy. That's a new crazy. It's a new
Wow.
crazy bill. To be honest, it's a
Yeah.
lot of pain.
Wow. That's amazing. Hmm.
Yeah, and I was, yeah, everything the character planned, like maybe in January for this time, it's happening the opposite. It's dissolving. It's totally um, almost like pushing me to surrender. I still showed up, and I was smiling through all the way without any fears, without anything, surrounded by people who actually showed up and trained and all pumped up. And I'm standing there and I feel completely, I'm very honest, like energy going through my body that that doesn't belong to me. It's almost,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
It's very beautiful. I said, okay, I'm gonna try to, if I can, I'll stop, I'll go with that. I don't care. That's also something here. I don't care. And the beautiful part of that journey, the pain, of course, 2 days and still now it's no fun. It's
Yeah.
still I have human body. It's
Yeah.
also um,
So yeah, that's interesting.
very interesting. I
So
didn't feel it. Yeah,
so you signed up for this marathon a
long time ago.
long
Yeah,
time ago. Yeah, and there's no
it's
training.
half marathon.
Yeah,
Yeah,
was there feeling like who chose to still do that marathon?
that's
Was the energy part of it? Like was life pushing in that direction? Did it feel like that?
yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
Thank you so much for that question because that was I cannot share that, to anybody. I was like, okay, I still have to travel there. I'm gonna show up. I have the ticket, and if if by any chance, any second, any minute, this energy and I don't know, maybe it's a phase after awakening, and I am very honest and open about it, and I share here. It's somehow pushing me down to bed, make me very tired
Hmm.
physically. There's
Hmm.
no motivation, and I am Eva is pushing herself to go and do things. So I was like, okay, if it will be clear, I'm gonna be in bed. I'm not gonna show up
Hmm.
because it's like I almost feel that I'm going against it, that it's the character, when it's not me authentically. So I showed up and I was so smiling, like I am super trained. And it's dangerous thing, just to let clear, it's dangerous thing to run even 21K without, but I am a runner, so there is, you know, but still it's no fun. And the moment like, okay, the usual crisis that I will feel through my body, I was literally connecting to the energy while I was running because you can zone out in some moment, even though it's hard the breathing and there is like the crisis. But I felt that I am not that it's not Eva who is running. That was beautiful.
Hmm.
That moment that yeah. But the most beautiful part for me And that was me helping people on the track who fall down and they were in trouble. Some girls, especially. Everybody was passing by because I don't care about the time, or like I came back and then I felt even more energy, and as I'm a little bit experienced, I helped that little girl. She was throwing up, like not experienced, and that was I immediately that's why I saw the medal. I don't care. That's really honest. I really don't care. That's I
Yeah.
don't think I ever did in the sense like, oh, I got a medal. Yes, I am going around with that medal because I'm making joke of it. I'm just carrying around because I'm just joking. But this was interesting, and hence my question. I came upon that there is like I'm going up and down, in and out. I can feel clearly, for example, when I was surrounded by a lot of people. So a lot of people, and I'm not in my everyday life that. So I felt the energy of them when it's a lot when they're in big city with a lot of. So that's something. But my question, and that I read also in the part that there is, I feel like identity. That is what Ruben taught is dissolving, and there is that part that I cannot talk about it. It's almost like I'm looking from outside my friends and family, and I cannot share. It sounds crazy. Like even like what Ruben said, the talk is, so I feel that. And I am okay with that more and more. It is, of course, the human part of me is lonely through this journey. Like, what cool things I saw or what I felt, or I cannot share that. Or when I'm also in some kind of sadness that's underneath. But it's not depression, it's a sadness that I feel and I sit with it. I'm not now afraid with it, but it is there and I cry without reasons. So I think that's my question is that's probably that dissolve or identity because part of ego still wants to hold on things that ego was that I maybe want to keep, in maybe some way, the bad stuff, the fears, all the bad stuff. That's of course not. But is there a phase under the quote after awakening that got me to this point that I don't have motivation, that I just
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
So what you're describing, and I on my own path, I went through a phase of almost like a grieving or a mourning phase. Like I would go home to family gatherings, and my energy, like I looked at everyone, everything, and I realized I can never go back to the way I was before. I can never be that character that they want me to play, and so that the character went through, yeah, like a dissolving, a sadness, kind of stages of letting go, stages of kind of grieving, feeling the pain of that loss, and yet, the awareness that I am was just aware as well, always free, always not, like that's the crazy thing when we when we know who it is that suffers, it's always the character that suffers or goes through this process, and yet awareness has always been free of it at the same time. So yeah, it's totally common. It's that character goes through, letting go on all different levels, and what you described about being, in groups of people or in a city. I went through a phase where the body mind became very sensitive. So there was a natural draw to being in nature, to just be very still. And over time, there's this rewiring process that happens, and somehow, and I'm I scientifically I don't really understand how it works, but what it seems like to me is, as we just allow the body mind to go through this process and this rewiring happens, it's like the nervous system and the energy gets more almost like a energetic immune system comes online. So at the beginning, I just wanted to be away from people. I was like a hermit. I moved out into a little place in the woods in the middle of forest in Canada, and just living in the woods away from everything. And then over time, this change started to happen. And it's like the energy started to draw me back into the world as my capacity to interact with people grew. And so at the beginning, like when I was doing, I started doing just little meditation retreats, and I'd be talking to people, and at that time, like sometimes the nervous system would get overwhelmed, and it was too much, and I'd get exhausted or tired, like drained, completely drained. But over time, I would start to see how the how it was like a mirror for me as well. I could see where my own attachments were. Like every person who I interacted with was like a mirror for me, and I could see where, if I was getting drained or getting affected by their energy, I could see where my own resistance was. So it was an amazing practice for me to interact with people, and I, because it started to show me where all those blocks were. So I would say, what's happening for you is totally normal. It's what happens, when that body mind starts to lose its sense of purpose. The old purpose in the world. All of that it's all part of it. So it is going through this sort of letting go and grieving and death, dissolving, all of that. But there's something new. This tree of life, this inner lotus is growing, and it's that brings us to a totally new relationship with life and with people as well. So now when I interact with people, I feel it as, even when they're really, if there's a strong egoic pattern. In the past, I would have felt like a drain, or it might have triggered my own pain body, but less and less now, to the point where it's very rare, unless somebody's like actually attacking me or something. But I don't feel that charge anymore. So there's this, rewiring that happens, and it just allows life to move through us more and more freely. And it's blissful, as the deeper we go with that, it's very blissful. Yeah.
Yeah. Today it's like you see, but I just traveled for 8 hours, and I still wanted to be with you, all of you, because it's not only that I feel free to talk about these things here, but I also feel that you guys understand, all of it, that you understand that, because it's, I wouldn't believe, I always, so I don't even try, to explain. It's also that very, very, yeah, that's exactly the word. I feel constantly drained, and sometimes simple tasks are just, and yet that's the paradox. And yet I just freaking 21K without training. Like the energy is so, and I feel drained. So who is feeling drained?
That's it.
And
That's
I feel
the
drained to
question.
just walk. I feel drained to walk, right? And then when energy wants, or I call it like that, but when I'm in the center and I'm aligned, then it like I can run even. So that's for me something. to
Yeah,
reflect who is drained actually.
that's it. That's it. Yeah, it's very mysterious. So yeah, whenever that tiredness is there, that's the best time to inquire. Who am I?
Mm,
Am I drained, or is it the body mind that's drained? And
mm.
it's always awareness is never drained. It's always the body mind. We know that for sure. So yeah. So
We can run forever.
yeah, that's amazing, and that energy, there's a I don't know if you've come across in the teachings of the Buddha, the when he went under the Bodhi tree, that whole metaphor of the tree of life. So he sat under the tree, and he said, I'm not going to move until I'm enlightened. I'm going to sit under this tree forever. But one thing that stuck out for me was, he said this tireless energy was aroused. This energy came to life in that process. So the energy could just keep going forever. It wasn't. There was no doer. There was no little self making anything happen in that. Somehow that energy, it has its own way of doing things. And so for you, I'm noticing like your energy, if it took you, if you did a 21-mile marathon or whatever it was, like with that energy, it's alive in you. Like it knows, like that. To me, it almost seems like a form of sadhana. If the character was in this sort of tired state, and now the energy's like running for 21 miles. It's obviously like the life energy has its own agenda. It's like everything is there. It's now just a surrender to that energy. And it's interesting how the energy will take us into, different forms of sadhana. For me, it was like that type of thing can be, a big rewiring actually in the body if it's that energy that is guiding it. There's an intelligence to that. So it's not comfortable. My energy when I moved to this property in the woods, there was a real draw to come into the body. The energy was moving me to do different things, and I got into, it sounds strange, but I was into building things. I built a little darkness hut, and I was like a city guy who I'd never used a chainsaw. I'd never done anything. I didn't know how to use a hammer, but I was drawn to, so I figured out how to use the chainsaw, and I'm like, really feeling everything in the body. And it was like there was a guidance with the energy to, yeah. And so that sadhana can take many different forms like that. It can be, it's not always what we think it is, like just doing meditation, but when that energy comes alive, it can take us into all different things in life.
Not strange, it's beautiful. I mean, the building thing, and that's how I feel. It's like something that I never did before. And that lack of motivation, that lack of life energy, and maybe thank you for everybody's listening and for you. Yeah, because I was struggling in the past couple of weeks with that drainness and really doing basic things. And then yet when it was, because I was like, why I'm going even to that, it doesn't matter. Like, why I'm going there? Do I want it? I don't care. But it like, then something in me rewired beyond, okay, physical pain. Like I feel calmer. I feel more in peace.
Mm-hmm.
I feel more grounded.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
that's just the experience. And it's also something that maybe people here cannot understand. I feel more I am on this path. I immediately feel when people, let's say in 3D world, complete strangers or not, politicians or not, I feel immediately when I call that in my mind, when somebody has, I call that gentle energy, at least to me, to my frequency. I feel it. no matter what their, let's say, avatar is talking, or I can feel it. And some people, when they show up around me, I feel not very different kind of a vibration, and that's very, very clear immediately.
Yeah.
And I call that as a trigger, which is the more I'm having the triggers, I see them as a gold mines. I see them, they're coming up for me to reflect and to see. And the more I'm witnessing, I'm just listening to people, and the more I'm listening, the more talking to me complete strangers, and the more I can see program under the quote, the
Yeah.
belief system, that, and then maybe that's helping me to then see that clear
Yeah.
distinguish between what Eva
That's it.
was
Yeah.
and
That's
the other thing that's already coming up, or
yeah.
whatever the thing.
That's it exactly. So yeah, when we're awake, we see the patterns, so we see it in ourselves and we see it in others as well. Yeah, so so seeing the mind and how it's operating, we see, yeah, if someone has a very strong mind and strong pattern, we see that clearly. And yeah, and we can also, see past that as well sometimes. We can see
Mhm.
even the strongest egos, like, that, like there might be, there, it's uncomfortable, when we're like, if you're with somebody, as you said, like a gentle energy, it feels comfortable. But when we feel that strong mind, it can, it's like our own pain body, our own mechanism feels it as well, and so, like I said, the mirror, it shows me if I see an ego in front of me, then it's a reflection of my own ego, or if I see God in front of me, then I know I'm seeing the truth. I'm feeling it's more direct. There's no evaluation or preference of one thing or another. So yeah, so I feel like, for me, you've mentioned, like, about that getting drained. It's so, it's great to have something like that as uh, something that it's like a marker, or a way that we can see when energy is going into that conditioned self. So I would say, like, when in those moments where it feels like I'm drained, that is you nailed it with the question, like, who am I in that moment? It's the best moment. Whenever tiredness comes, just ask, who am I? Am I tired? Is awareness tired? And it can just, as soon as that flip happens, as soon as I know the truth of who I am, energy is free. It's the awareness was never tired. And it can happen like that, like in an instant. As soon as we realize the truth in that moment, um, that flip can happen at any moment. It doesn't even have to be a flip. It's just a recognizing of the truth.
Thank you, and thank you everybody for listening and patience. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. To Razi. Hi,
Yeah.
Razi.
Hi, Dan. It's been a little while.
It has, yeah.
Thank you so much, everybody, for sharing. It's like I could hear myself and see myself in everybody that's shared. It's beautiful. I want to report something, and then I want to ask and get your perspective on something also. Um, so recently, just sort of randomly, the body's been doing a lot of physical activity, like exercise, calisthenics, a little bit of yoga, and I noticed like the energy is is stronger and the confidence is more. I just noticed that, at least in me. Usually I notice kind of there's a strong eye identification still happens at times, but when I'm physically doing stuff, especially when I'm pushing the body more, that the mental chatter and activity just sort of dies down automatically, and the energy and confidence is high. Um, and so I'm just staying on that course. And then just it's helping a lot with the practice of just being. Um, And then lately, just yesterday or 2 days ago, just sort of spontaneously, this thing about letting go. I wanted to get your take on what your practice is of letting go. I'll share with you what's happening here. And also it's the word letting go, but as it's being witnessed more directly, I guess I won't speak. I'll just tell you what's happening. So like even as I was sitting listening, thoughts and mental activity were arising. And then it was sort of like the attention, just remembering to bring the attention in the body, and somehow I don't know the word for it, but it's just like there's a beingness there. It's just like it's just quiet, and it's just like a recognition, but there's no this is me. It's not just me, but there's just quietness. And the thought activity shifts. And then so I'm doing this practice of like, oh, let go. Like the thought is coming and I'm like, let go. Can I just let go? And I had all these ideas and the questions I would ask and all that, but then remembering, can I let that go?
Mhm.
And then this other practice that's sort of happening also is around just the word love. And it's like, am I loving? I just ask, am I loving? Okay. And when I ask that question, there's a smile that comes, like an inner smile. And then I ask the question, do I want to love? Do I want to love? And same thing is happening. And then can I love when? And then all this sort of questioning around this thing, it's leading me to the same thing, but from different angles, like the beingness, awareness, loving, all that seems to just bring here. And it's just, that's just all there is just this. And I want to know if you can speak to that. And so this is not a problem, right? I'm just sharing this, and I want to know how you are sort of, I don't know, triangulating or getting to this place.
Mhm.
And then just this, okay, can I let go? Am I loving? And then when I ask a question, do I want to be loving? And then sometimes I notice resistance, like, no. And then I sit and then I ask again, who doesn't want? And so somehow it's
Mhm.
happening,
Yeah.
and it's just going to this, just this silence and just quiet and no thoughts and nothing. And all this is good stuff. I'm just saying that in just general
Mhm.
words.
Yeah, yeah. What you're describing, you seem to be perfectly describing like both the direct path and the long path or the developmental path simultaneously, which to me that is the pathless path. That's it. Like there is this sort of sadhana that we do where, if there's contraction in the body mind, I've done years of letting go practices of vipassana meditation and equanimity, sort of bringing tranquility to the body mind. And so there is this part of the path that is, there is a letting go, but the one that's letting go, is always the conditioned self. The like awareness doesn't let go. Awareness doesn't do anything. There's nothing to let go of when we recognize truly what we are. As awareness. It was always free. It was always never bound in the first place. So the letting go is all happening within the body mind, and that is part of the process. It's like it's like there's a somehow the two go together. When I rest in as the self or as awareness, there's a natural relaxing in the body mind. And there's, the ego is the contraction. So when I just rest, in as awareness, there is a letting go. Something, happens within the self structure, and there's an intelligence that comes online, I think, that shows us, if we trust that intelligence, it's going to show us how that letting go happens, how all of these knots sort of release, and we might find, where those contractions are in the body mind, and there's nothing, we don't have to do anything for that to happen except, resting as awareness, and then, there is this sort of natural unfolding to it. There's an energy to it that will just do that.
So my question was the way this, I didn't even know exactly what I was doing per se, but the letting go thing, it was more of an inquiry, I guess. It's more of an inquiry.
Hmm.
And then sort of like a two steps. So the inquiry just get the chatter down and it helped me recognize what's here. That's what sort of is happening now
Hmm.
is when I see chatter up and then I'm like, well, can I let that go or whatever coming up? And then it's making it easier for me to recognize. Maybe I'm going through a process, maybe.
Hmm.
Do you recommend just continue doing that? Because I'm not really doing it. It's just sort of happening right now.
Yeah, I think like whatever is sort of moving us in the direction of less thinking and less doing is is
Right.
is really the path, so sometimes, yeah, if there's there might be some intelligence that comes online, and it's like a little practice, or a letting go practice. It might be a stage in moving towards less and less doing. So yeah, I would say, if it's peaceful,
Yes,
there's
right.
there's less sense that I'm doing something.
Yes.
It's sort of moving in that direction.
It's sort of recognizing it. So the question I have is in my daily life, still there's a lot of resistance in especially one area of life, revolving work. And there's like a blind spot I'm not able to see, and it's sort of very strong patterns. And I see the push and pull. There's this idea of how my life should be, and then there's kind of like what's happening. And
Mhm.
it's like a part of me, I'm calling part of me, but sort of it seems like mental conditioning. Like it
Mhm.
should be this way, and these should be the conditions, and this is how it should be, and the finances should be this way, and my
Mhm.
work should that all these criteria like the mind has, it should be this, it should look like this, it should do da 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 da.
Mhm.
And then there's just this moment, which is this moment. And then this pattern is so strong, and this energy and the resistance is so strong that maybe as the speaker before was like, I don't have motivation. I get exhausted. My confidence is down, and this belief like I can't do it. But when there's a crisis or a deadline, boom, I can just get so much done in such little time.
Mhm.
But in my daily life, I can't seem to get things done. Like it's just the
Mhm.
schedule and this, that. There's just the energy is so flat, and
Mhm.
it's very confusing of
Mhm.
what's really going on because I'm like, I'm a capable person. I can do these things, but in my daily
Yeah.
life, things are just so lax and
Yeah.
so it's very confusing.
Yeah. So you described like a blind spot. Um, yeah, but also you're describing like the pattern in intricate detail, actually. So you're seeing exactly what's happening. So when you say blind spot, what is that belief? What is that that is a blind spot? Because
So
you see the pattern.
it,
It
it
seems
it
very clear.
appears I'm seeing it as I'm
Yeah.
talking to you. So there's
Mhm.
space and the mind is calm. But when I'm alone, it's just more constant thinking activity, and it's not seeing it. It's like I should be doing this. There's a lot of
Yeah.
shoulds in the belief. I I should make this amount of money. I should work from home. It
Yeah.
should be easy. It should not be stressful. I should have a lot of time for my practice. I should help people. I should be spiritual. I got like all these shoulds here.
Hmm.
And then
Yeah.
the daily life is, and then I get overwhelmed with all these shoulds and I can't get it done because I can't meet all these shoulds and
Yeah.
nothing gets done. And then I feel bad. And then, I distract myself. And then I'm like, oh, I screwed up another day. That's just what I do. And it's like, oh, and it's just
Yeah. Yeah. That's very, you're
almost
putting,
embarrassing. I'm
no,
like, man, I'm a
you're
grown-up
putting,
man. Why am I struggling
I
with this? It's
see,
like,
I see everybody is like putting little hearts and 100%. Yeah. Like you're nailing, this is exactly, the core of how the mind operates. So yeah, that's it. So yeah, so that, so what you're describing earlier, this letting go process that's happening naturally in your sadhana, it's those shoulds are what's being let go, you know. It's like that contraction, or whatever it is that's creating a sense of not being at ease. There's this contraction or these shoulds that are in play, and this evaluation that I'm failing at this or not, all that story, those are beliefs in the mind, right?
yes,
So
yes.
there's still an attention that is, if that contraction is still there and still happening, there's an attention that is going to the mind. So the attention can be, on what's here now, just being aware of this moment as it is, or the attention can go into the mind, this belief system, which is, it's like an overlay on this reality. So who is interested in that overlay? Who's interested in all of those thoughts? Is there still an interest in those thoughts? There must be, because it's happening.
There's an habitual interest. It's not like now I'm sitting, there's no interest. There's just
Yeah.
quietness. There's a observation of that. There's
Yeah.
nothing, especially about when I'm alone. It's just sort of happening on its own. It's like an
Yeah.
habit. Can I tell you something funny?
Mhm.
Just today, like you saw, our little baby, right? So even with the baby this morning, I'm like, I should be teaching the baby how to meditate. It should be sitting next to me. I should be doing yoga with the baby. I got all of this pressure, and
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not teaching the baby enough. He should be on the path, and I'm like, oh God, I'm just so stressed. And I'm like,
Mm.
he's already 13 months, and I miss so much. I'm not training him. I should train him better, and I'm not doing a good job. And
Wow. Yeah.
like all this pressure all the
Mhm.
time, and this poor baby just wants to play. And I'm like, sit here and do this and do that. Anyway, sorry. So this is
Yeah.
just with the little poor baby, and
Yeah.
everything is pressure and high expectation,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I'm not seeing it, and the body gets constricted. And yeah, sorry, but
Mhm.
please, thank you. You're helping me a lot. So please continue.
Yeah. So yeah, so what you're describing, that, so for me, what really kind of is coming up right now is like there's, like you're in your practice, you're very present in the practice. So there's a turning point where it's like attention is turning away from what's here now to, this mind stream that is happening. So for me, what was a huge turning point in my own practice was when I started to see that turning of attention. It's like when attention is just right here now, it's almost like it's relaxed open. So it's not narrowly focused. It's not trying to get anything, or it's like a camera where the aperture is just like relaxed
Mm.
open. And then it's like when we go into the mind, it's like the camera is it's believe it's focused on this thought and that thought. So if we can watch the attention of the mind, and watch that turning, watch when it goes from that relaxed state to the contracted state. And it happens very quickly. Like all of a sudden we're in the mind, and it's very hard to catch that actual turning, but it's a possible thing, like in Zen, they have a actual word for that catching. It's called joriki, where it's like we become aware of you know the mind as it's doing its thing. So it's like we're watching the attention of the mind, and not just getting caught in the next thought. And so it's a huge turning point in the practice. Like if I'm meditating, I can just be here one moment and all of a sudden I'm in a mind stream. But the joriki is when we can start to catch that turning of attention, and as the thought is arising, and we can get to a point where we're looking directly at the mind, so we can see the mind. There's an interest, there's something that's interested in the thoughts,
Mm.
and so who is that? What is that that's interested in the thoughts? Like what's making the attention go to those thoughts? And that's the core of the I thought. The core of the I thought is whatever it is that's choosing to put attention on those thoughts. If we can catch that and see that directly, so that it's not just an unconscious process. Um, that's in Zen, it is the turning point in one's practice when we start to catch that attention, and there's a sense of sort of single pointedness when that happens, where it's like I'm just here and I can watch the mind. The mind is no longer like that river that takes me in the river. It's like I'm fully just here. I'm watching that river. So I think for me, inquiring, like I actually made it a practice at one point, watching the attention of the mind and just seeing, where is the attention right now? Where's the mind looking, and just seeing the attention. And once it becomes fully conscious, you can actually see the attention moving here and there, and looking at sensations in the body and doing different things. And once you tune into it, then it's no longer unconscious, and we can come to this sort of more and more single pointed, just being here looking at it.
So in your practice, like right now, if I'm sitting, I'm like, if can I be aware of my left foot, for example? So I can see like you're like, I think you talked about move I don't know if you say move the attention or the attention just became aware of that space.
Yeah, like you don't have to, it's just pure inquiry. So
Okay.
you don't have to choose, but just see, like the choosing is happening, so like something is making the mind go to the thoughts,
Yes,
right? Like
yes,
so there's a choosing happening, something
yes. And
there's
it's in the dark. It's not seen most
yeah,
of the time.
yeah.
Yes.
So it's inquiry, so what is that that's
What
that's
is that?
making the mind move? So just seeing, what's happening, and there's nothing to do in that. It's just seeing the choosing that is already happening. So the awareness that's here is just choiceless.
Yes,
Awareness never chooses. So who is that chooser? Who is the one putting that attention on thoughts, and there's it's interested in those thoughts, and it's that interest that keeps this I thought continuously alive. Yeah, so there's nothing to do except to just see that, just make it conscious, and That's it. And
And you do that in your sitting practice, or just even like now as I'm sitting, I'm already starting to notice that, just I
yeah,
guess daily life
yeah, just whenever it's active, like for me,
is active all the time.
yeah, so there's like in meditation practice, like for, there was a point where, in earlier in the practice, all of a sudden it seemed like I was lost in thoughts. But then bit by bit, I could see there was this attention that was moving, and I started to pay attention to it,
Hmm.
in my sitting practice, just seeing, okay, now, it's focusing on the breathing, it's focusing on the belly. Now it's having a daydream about whatever, or whatever that attention is doing, and you start to see it almost like a camera that's moving, and usually it's completely unconscious when it's flipping from this to that. So
Right now, it's still faint. My concentration or my awareness of the attention is still very faint. I'm still missing a lot. I
mhm.
think maybe so I maybe need to sit more or have a regular meditation practice. Maybe would that help, or how do I strengthen that just by doing more? Or
Yeah, like the meditation practice is it can be, a formal practice, or just lying in bed is an amazing time to do it at night as well. When we're just lying in bed, it's fascinating to see what the attention of the mind is doing.
Hmm,
It really it's going here and there, and
right.
and it's almost like, there's certain patterns. As we go into the sleep cycle, the mind gets interested in certain, whatever it is, fantasies or thoughts, visions, whatever it is, phenomena. And it's like there's this interest in that. Something is putting attention on whatever the mind phenomena that's being produced. So
Can you just clarify for me the mind and attention? Are we using that loosely, interchangeably, or there's a distinction? I just want to make sure I follow what you're saying.
yeah, so like in the films that I've made, I make it's a very precise thing in Buddhism. So in the five skandhas, you have the, form and sensation, um, the all the phenomena that's arising
Yes,
in the mind,
yes.
and then you have, vijnana. So I'm talking about vijnana here as the attention. So vijnana is that part of the mind that witnesses all the other phenomena of the mind. Yeah.
So it's a witness. We're calling attention as same as witness. What is witnessing and what is aware of what is arising?
Yeah, it's yeah, so like sometimes people will refer to as just awareness as the pure witness, but yeah, here we're talking about, the mind, that part of the mind that looks here and there. It's like a camera that moves.
So can a camera have an interest, or can a camera be interested in what is arising? Or how is that interest mechanism happen? Because a camera
Mhm.
is not interested, right? Camera just is noticing what's happening. Where's that interest part? That's the
Yeah.
juicy part I think I want to.
Yeah. Well, and so what it's witnessing, those other four skandhas are made up of, sensations and perceptions, but also preferences as well. Those preferences are what that camera is witnessing,
That's
right?
what
So
pulls it, maybe. I like, I don't like, I shouldn't
yeah,
do. Maybe that's what's
yeah.
pulling and pushing.
That's it. So yeah, so the preference arises, and it's like a magnet. Attention goes to that. It's like a mosquito lands on me, and it's like, there's,
Tumbles.
yeah, the mind generates a thought, a preference, and
Yes.
attention goes right there. So there's a connection between all of those skandhas and what is witnessing it, and it's almost magnetic, because it's
Yes.
unconscious. It happens so quick.
Hypnotic.
Yeah. Yeah. So seeing that whole mechanism, like the Buddha just said, liberation is when you see all of that, all of those five skandhas to be empty of self. And
Wow.
that's it. we just see it. We see it, and it's no longer unconscious. And it's yeah, it's just a mechanism that's happening, but there's
Beautiful.
no I in that.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. That was so amazing. Thank you so much, Tim. Thank you, everybody. Yeah, that was nice.
Thank you. Go to zero. Hello.
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 So today I actually want to explore the emotion of anger with you. I feel like it feels different from the other emotional responses. So most negative emotions, such as sadness or fear or shame, they tend to contract the body, but anger feels expansive to me. So it's more like a high energy state that pushes boundaries outward.
Mm-hmm.
And I also feel like many spiritual frameworks emphasize acceptance as a way of dissolving emotion, sometimes in a way that seems to deny the self, boundaries, or even violation itself. So that interpretation does not really resonate with me. So I do not want to become numb or being manipulated by the system. And I
Mm-hmm.
also recognize that we are still living in the physical body and within a world shaped by real limits and boundaries. When those boundaries are crossed, the anger automatically arises. So rather than surprising it to maintain the superficial peace, do you think it may make more sense to recognize this role in protecting the wholeness of the self, especially under unequal power?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So in this kind of constraint or predatory societies nowadays, I feel like silence is often treated as compliance, and non-response does not make harm disappear. It gives the other side more space to press into our own until even if awareness remains, the space that holds that awareness becomes compressed.
Mm-hmm.
So I agree that anger without awareness is blind, but awareness without anger can be weak sometimes. Perhaps real clarity lies in using this awareness to see through illusion, but also using anger to resist the real harm. So that's why I question this idea that everything should simply be dissolved. And in practice, this kind of things can make me feel easier to control because it strips away even the basic instinct to protect ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So I personally see anger as a valid bodily responses
Yeah.
in defending boundaries in our human beings' lives. So I'm curious how you think about this.
Yeah, beautiful. You're hitting on a very important nuance on the path. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. So when I use the word emotion, first, I think it's important to be really precise about what an emotion is. So usually when I say emotion, there's a feeling in the body, a sensation, and then also a belief in the mind. So so an emotion is always a combination of some sort of sensation and a belief. So if I'm angry, I'm angry about something. I'm angry like somebody's done something. So I have a belief or a memory and then I feel it in the body as well. And so we can have, those experiences where as I was talking to Razi, we're talking about the five skandhas and um, there can be this I thought that is wrapped up in that emotion. So if something is arising, somebody does something to me, or say somebody insults me, and the I thought can be involved with that, or it can be just a purely energetic experience. So, if a little kid, for example, is about to touch, a hot burner on a stove, the mother, there might be like don't do that, that's bad, but it's a natural response. It's out of love, actually. So there's no I thought in that form of anger, so any emotion can be, it can be something just naturally moving through us, like a natural experience, or it can be contracted with that sense of I. So what you said is really true. It's like if somebody's doing something to us, like if somebody is holding my head underwater, there's a natural energy response that comes up to that. I'm not just going to surrender and allow somebody to hold my head underwater. There's an energy that we have that there's an establishing of boundaries, or if somebody's abusing me and abusing this body mind in some way, there's a natural kind of anger or energy that comes online, and it's protective, and yeah, and there's only suffering, or it's only a problem on the path of liberation when there's a sense of I in it, so for example, when if somebody's holding the head underwater, um, if I have, a really strong sense of I, and I'm fearful. It's like, oh no, I'm going to die. I'm this body mind. I'm going to die. That fear actually might paralyze me. It might be so scary. So the energy isn't free. So I can't burst free. I might just be like, so petrified and scared. So sometimes, when we drop that I, it actually allows the full expression of that anger or that energy to come through. So if I drop that sense of I, then the life energy is just going to burst out, and we see examples of that, like the mother that lifts up a car, to off of someone who's trapped underneath it. So yeah, so there's nothing, we don't need to resist anything that's naturally arising. And that can happen sometimes on the spiritual path. We think, some traditions, they repress the emotions and repress the anger, and then it becomes pathological. Then it's like
Mhm.
we've pushed away something into the unconscious mind. So
Yeah.
yeah, so it's a very important insight that you're bringing up.
Could I interpret sensations are neutral, but emotions is like we put the narratives into that sensation because of our original beliefs. So
Yeah.
maybe we just don't add this extra layers on the neutral sensations. It can actually let the sensation to guide us to do the right action.
Yeah. Yeah. The way I see it is like the emotion, when we drop the belief part of it, and we just have a complete experience of the raw sensation. It's like we're transmuting that emotion into aliveness. So whatever it is, if it's sadness or grief or anger or joy, um, it just becomes aliveness. When we take the belief and the thought out of it, it just becomes a direct experience of life, and we can actually have a complete, full experience of it then. Hmm.
Yeah, super clear. Thank you so much.
Hmm. Hmm. Thank you. All right. Well, thank you, everyone, once again. Beautiful sharing and beautiful synchronicities. Yeah, it's always a pleasure to connect and be part of your path. And yeah, so we'll see you next week. And namaste, everyone. See you later.